You are about to listen to a brand new episode of the Foreign Lady Podcast. I hope you enjoy. Please make sure you like and subscribe to the channel and also support wherever you listen to your podcast. Now, let's get to the episode.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Foreign Lady Podcast. I'm your host, Liz,
And the bottom line,
and we're back with another episode for you. On this week's episode, we are going to be talking about Jennifer Lopez. Yes, I know how ironic it is that I have a J-Lo shirt and
uh-huh.
we're talking about her, but that's what we do here. So we're going to be talking about her. She's doing the press for her new movie, Kiss of a Spider, which totally bombed in the box office, by the way. But that's not the story. She's talking about her ex, her many exes, and some of the comments that she made kind of made people kind of raise their eyebrows like, okay, J-Lo. We'll get into that. And then we're also going to be talking about Bad Bunny and the controversy around his Super Bowl upcoming halftime show. He will be doing the halftime show next year for the Super Bowl, and there are a lot of people who are not happy about that. So we're going to talk about that. And we're also going to briefly talk about Diddy and his sentencing. So he was finally sentenced, and kind of our thoughts on it. Was the sentencing just? Did he deserve more or less time? We'll get into that. And there's another topic I wanted to talk about, but
Was it Mama
we're
D?
yes, we're gonna talk about Mama D. For those of you who don't know, she is on the show called Love and Hip Hop. She's the mother of Scrappy, who used to be a rapper but is not a rapper anymore. I don't know. He's also on Love and Hip Hop. And there was a controversy going on because they went on a podcast and Scrappy mentioned that on his 14th birthday that his mother hired strippers to be at the party. So we're going to talk about just how that we going to get into it because that's just crazy to me. Yeah, so let's get into it. Before we get started, as always, how are you doing? How is your week? How's everything?
Just being an adult this whole week,
Mhm.
making sure that you put others first, you took care of your responsibilities, you didn't
Oh,
get yelled at or in trouble. Like I love just sort of leaving work and knowing that if there's a problem, it doesn't come back on me. Like I know I did my part, and yeah, like doing my part does mean watching out for the whole team, of course.
right.
But I love it when the next day be like, "Yo, something happened," and I'm like, "Well, I know it wasn't me. I know it's not me."
It's hilarious. Yeah, my week was good. I am on a sort of forced vacation, I guess. I'm on
Right.
furlough. I'm a federal worker, but
Okay.
yeah, so until our people get their act together, I am on furlough for now. But
So does furlough
yeah.
mean like, well, from what I'm hearing, you're not getting paid?
Yeah, so we are not going to be getting paid until the shutdown is over.
Okay.
Yeah. So until then, I have my very good friend to take care of me, right?
Sure. Sure. Do I know this friend?
You
Do I
absolutely
do I
do.
know him? Do I know do I know her or him? I don't know who it might be.
He is a wonderful, wonderful friend.
Sounds like Jesus. The friend we have in Jesus.
But Jesus is my friend, but I also have another one.
You don't need any
The
friend
one
but
that the
him.
Lord has sent to help a sister out. Yes.
You don't need any other
Praise the
friend
Lord.
but him.
Praise the Lord. Hallelujah. Anywho, but yeah, so I've just been doing stuff and getting stuff together and hanging out with the girlies and yeah, all that good stuff. All right, let's get into our topic for today. So I'm like, where do we even start? Because we have so much to talk about. But let's start with Diddy. Let's kind of get him out of the way. So he was sentenced to 50 months a couple weeks ago. And it's crazy because people were like, oh, he's probably not going to do time or he's going to do time served. I think that's what him and his team were hoping, his family and him especially. I think there was also a rumor that he apparently had a speaking engagement like the day after he was going to be sentenced or whatever, which is not a great idea. Like judges do not like that where you're kind of like preemptory thinking you're gonna get out because then it's like kind of a spit in the face in their eyes, but he got 50 months, which is about 4.5 years. I'm a little over that, and that I
Four and a half
believe
years?
is it 50 months is 4 years, 4 years and some change, right?
Yeah, not 4.5 years.
I don't know. You're the math guy. I'm
I
not
mean,
sure.
well, there's 12 months in a year. 12 times 4 is 48 months.
Okay,
That leaves us
so
with 2 more months.
okay, 4 years and some change. I was in the
4 years is some
general
change.
ballpark. I was in the general
No,
ballpark.
you were.
Yes, I was. 4 months and some change, and I believe that some of his time served counts towards that. So, what did you think? I believe the prosecutors were looking for like 11 years. And obviously, his team was like, just give him time served. But the judge was like, 11 years is too much. And the time he served is not long enough. So, that's why you get the 4 years and some change. What are your thoughts? What do you think?
Well, remind me, what was it that they found him guilty on? Because I think they didn't find him guilty on trafficking, was it? He
Yeah.
was
So, the
not guilty
RICO
on trafficking?
charge, he wasn't found guilty of that. I think it was just the not the is it the trafficking? I believe it was just the plant like taking a sex worker from one state to another.
The Mann Act. So, yeah, so that was
Yeah, that's
prostitution.
what he was convicted of,
Yeah.
but not the bigger RICO charge, which would have been like 25 plus years.
Yeah.
So what do you think?
I think justice was served. I wish I knew more because
Yeah, the
really,
interstate prostitution. So
yeah,
basically one state to the other. Yeah,
yeah.
just want to make sure I got that.
Um, I wish I knew more. Like, I'm a person that's very like, you know, I got to see it to believe it. When I saw the video of him and Cassie, you couldn't just deny that.
Yeah,
There's something there's something in his spirit, something in who he is. He's capable of it, but I don't want to go off just that and say, well, he must be guilty of the other things. We still have to prove those too.
well, they kind of did prove it.
You mean the Rico part or
No, no, they didn't. The prosecutor couldn't prove the RICO part,
right?
but they did prove the intersection, the prostitution intersection.
Yeah.
That's so he got convicted of that. So what are you waiting to see?
I just wish I knew more because I feel like we're
There was
just
a whole trial.
yeah, I know. Like, but the thing is, like, and this is not me defending him at all. This is just me saying that I don't know enough about these people.
Okay, sorry.
I'm saying I'll say this. I am for what they did find him guilty on. I'm glad they did. And the thing is, here's what I'm really saying. I'm questioning whether he did get enough time. Is what I mean.
I see. Okay, okay.
You know,
That
like is what I'm asking is 4 years enough? You know, was there more evidence out there to get him more time? Is what I'm saying. And that's what
I
I'm
see.
saying. I wish I knew more.
Got it. Okay, that make that because I was like, where are you going with this? Okay, look, a lot of people were like, well, he wasn't on trial for domestic violence. That's not what he was on trial for. Even though we saw what he did to Cassie, we saw all of the horrific details about his freak offs and all of that. But people were like, well, that's not what he was actually charged with. So can they prove the RICO charge that all of this was like organized crime? And they were able to prove the prostitution traveling interstate because they did say there were many sex workers and exotic workers on the stand that said, yeah, we traveled from here to here. And Cassie said, yeah, we know we had people travel from here to here. So they were able to prove that. But look, there's no, we know that Diddy is not the best person in the world. And it seems
Mhm.
like everybody that goes to prison or goes to jail has found Jesus at some point in when they're in there. So apparently he's found Jesus. And hey, if that's truly it, I am all for it. Look, I'm a believer that if you truly have reformed and have repented for your sins and do understand that what I've like if you really do have a change of heart and a change of behavior and have truly found God, that's the reason why he sent his son to die for us because of our sins. And if you truly want to be forgiven and you really mean it, I will be the first one to be like, hey, do that. But I just feel like a lot of people go to prison or they get caught up in whatever, and all of a sudden they find Jesus. So if it's true or not, I don't know. That's between him and God. But I do think it takes more than just, because if he never would have gotten these charges, would he have changed? The answer is no. He would have kept doing everything that he's doing. Are there moments in your life where you do get slapped with consequences and then you reevaluate your life? Sure, that happens all the time. So I don't know if this is enough time or not, but I do hope that he uses this time to reflect and really think about his life and think about all of the things, all of the horrific things that he has done to women in particular. And yeah, I think that's I think four, hell, they should have given him 5, but I think that's enough. I think that's enough time for him to at least figure out and stop harassing people. And I think that was also the main part of it, right? Is like they don't want him out, and then he starts harassing people. So maybe the judge thought, hey, at least 2 more years from now, some of this would have blown over. Maybe he won't be harassing people no more, and he would have learned his lesson. But I don't know.
Is he
Hopefully he
gonna get
changes.
is he gonna get time off for good behavior?
That I don't know. I'm not sure. So there's a possibility that he might not do the whole 50 months for good behavior, but who knows? Not sure.
I just do wanna say one thing, like, I thought he was gonna get a lot more. I thought he was gonna get, like, 20 years. That's why I said I
Not
wish
not
I
for
knew
that. Not
more.
for what he was. Yeah, not for what he. I knew he wasn't going to get like 20 years
Yeah.
because they didn't get him on the bigger charge. So I knew it wasn't going to be like a hefty time. But again, I think 5 years would have been good. A good 5 years, and then like probation after he comes out. That would have been a good sweet spot for me. But
Oh, okay.
I'm not the judge in this matter, so
Yeah. And when I say I wish I knew more, it's not just about the case, but just about law itself. Like, what is the degree of punishment you wanna give somebody for?
So Diddy is technically a first time offender. So they look at that too. They also look at like mitigating circumstances, right? Like, was the crime horrific? Did you use you know, a weapon or what, so there are all these like certain mitigating circumstances that also goes into it. There are also like minimum mandatory sentencing that the judge has to consider. So if the judge was like, for this particular crime, I'm not sure what the minimum mandatory sentencing would be. But for the RICO charge, for example, if he would have been convicted of that, the minimum he could have got was 25. And then depending on whatever mitigating circumstances, like the horrificness of it, the amount of victims that were hurt, all of these things, the judge could have been like, all right, I'm giving you the minimum, I'm giving you the maximum, which is life. So I think the judge kind of was in the middle. So the maximum he could have gotten was 11 years, which is what the prosecutor wanted. But then his attorneys were like, well, he already did 2.5 years, so we could just let him go. And the judge was like, no, that's not enough time. So I think the judge was kind of looking at, all right, because he's a first time offender, because of, maybe it was terrible, but maybe like not to like a degree of like, horrific. He was like 11 years might be a little too much, but I'll give you somewhere in the middle, and 2 years is definitely not enough. So that's usually how judges look at it. Like it's based on a whole lot of factors of like how bad the crime was, are you a first time offender or are you a chronic offender? Like if this was, let's say his second or third, they probably would have given him a lot more than what he got. But because this was his first time in court, and a first time offender, I think the judge was a little bit more lenient. Um, so yeah, I hope that helps.
Do you think he's gonna come back from this, like, as far as his, like, career, who he was, his reputation, his brand?
I don't know. I mean, we've seen people come back from things like this, and we've seen people whose career have not come back from it. I I don't know. I feel like if he truly has changed and is putting in the work behind the scenes, maybe there's some people that might do business with. And again, we have short memories, right? Like when he gets out, if we're probably going to be in another place in society, and who knows, right? But I'm not really sure. I don't know. I can't even speak on it. So I'm not sure. I mean, people can't unhear all the stuff they heard, but then again, people heard it and they still didn't care. They were just like, well, he was just being a freak in his bedroom. So I think it depends on like where we are at that when he does get out, where we are in society. Like people have a short memory, and if he comes out and he truly genuinely has changed like he said he has, and maybe if he works back and try to get into good graces, maybe does an interview, does like a 60-minute or interview with Gail King or something.
That won't work. Gail Key will that's not the person you wanna go with first. She's gonna eat him up.
Maybe if he does one of those interviews, sit down interviews, give it a couple months, people might forget, and he might get his status back. Who knows? Or people might just be like, we're done with him, and that's it. So I don't know. I have no idea.
I don't think he will. I think that if this was 2000, he'd have a chance. But
Mm.
after the Me Too movement, after we're so very conscious of people's safety and rights and crimes, there's certain things that you can't come back from.
Are we though?
I think so.
Look, it feels like we've taken like 10 steps backwards in this new climate. So that's why I'm like, it depends on where we are when he gets out. Because I'm like, look, they are rolling out women's rights left and right. Like, that's why I'm like, do people act like what he did was terrible? Domestic violence is awful, and I believe in forgiveness. I believe that if he truly has repented, and we should forgive him. And I don't want to say this should ruin someone's life, but I'm somebody that's very big on there's certain things that you can do that I'm like, yeah, you can be forgiven, but I'm not going to look at you the same way. Domestic violence is one of them. I just cannot, that's just something I cannot get over. Again, you can be forgiven, go with God, all of that good stuff, but I just will not be a supporter of yours with certain things that you do. So I don't know. I don't know. I mean, Will Smith was able to bounce back kind of, I guess, but he didn't do all of this. So I'm like, I don't know.
Will Smith bouncing back, that's you giving him a lot of grace with that one because it feels like he spiraled down a rabbit hole after that whole thing. Like,
You're right. I mean, I won't say his career is completely destroyed, but we don't hear from him as much anymore. Thank
yeah.
God. And his wife, thank God. But I don't think his career is completely ruined.
No, no, no. I
So, but
think,
but then again, he didn't do what Diddy did.
yeah. I think like if he plays his cards right as Will Smith, he tells people like, "Hey guys, I did make a mistake." And the truth is, that was the one time we really saw Will go outside of who he was. So I could forgive
Right.
that. It's really between him and Chris. If Chris says he forgives him, Will Smith is really back. Like I think Will Smith can still pop out a few good movies if he stops doing anything else. Like all that other sort of, weird stuff I see sometimes. I'm like, yo, what's happening here? Some of his music videos.
Yeah. Did he release a new song or something? I think.
The one with like I like pretty girls was just like it was
Yeah,
like
I don't
that's
know.
not what we needed from you at any point in your career.
Okay, look, look, it isn't about Will Smith, but I do want to say I feel like if Will Smith's apology was genuinely sincere, I feel like people would have like we would genuinely forgive him and he would have been back. But I feel like that apology was very half-assed. He didn't mention Chris. Like that's who you needed to be apologized to, not us. You ain't slap us. You disrespected this man and his family, and those are the people you needed to apologize to. But I just kind of felt like he just read this like half-ass public relations apology and he expects us to move on and forget. And it's like I'm giving him that same Tony Rock energy. No, we are not. No, that this isn't it. No, we're not gonna forget. And I think that he fumbled that. He totally fumbled that. That's what I'll say on that. But let's move
I
on.
mean, I just would say one thing. So like Will
We
didn't
don't
slap
waste
me.
too much time on this topic. We have to move on.
I'm just saying he didn't slap me, so he doesn't have to apologize to me. I still think he has like great movies in him. That's between him and Chris.
Do you really?
What?
Okay, let's be honest. Do you think that Will Smith is still the same box office draw that he used to be? I don't think so.
Not at his peak, but he is on a decline. But he's still at a point where he could still pop out a few great movies. Like the Bad Boys franchise still is good.
Yeah, but that's I feel like Bad Boys is was already an established franchise. You know what I mean? Like I feel like that would have done good anyway. That's just my opinion because people love that franchise. So hell, I went to see the second Bad Boys. So I guess like it's already an established franchise. But I'm saying if it was like a non-established franchise like box office draw movie, I don't know if he can still do it the way he used to do it. That's all. All right. Can we move on now?
Of course, of course.
Okay. Let's move on to J Lo. Oh, she was doing her rounds on promoting this new movie of hers, which called Kiss of a Spider Woman. It was based on a 1996 play, I believe. And she went to Howard Stern and she did an interview. And in that interview, this is what they kind of started talking about some of her exes, and she basically said that once she breaks up with an ex, the ex is pretty much dead to her. And she said that they didn't know how to love her, like her exes didn't know how to love her, and she's never truly felt like she's been loved the way she wanted to be loved. And my whole thing is, okay, she's had quite a few exes, right? I think she's been engaged 7 or 8 times and she's been married 4 times. At that point, who is the problem? Is it the men or is it her? Because if you're saying that in all those relationships, none of them could love you the way you wanted to be loved, none of them were capable of love, none of them find that hard to believe. What do you think?
So I'm gonna talk politically correct. It's always the man's fault.
I feel like in this case, look, J Lo, I love you clearly, but we gotta call a spade here.
Um, but as far as J Lo, I think she just needs a certain kind of love that no one can give.
At what point do you kind of look at yourself and be like, maybe I might be the problem?
I think in her worldview, she can never be the problem. I don't think she can. I don't think she can really look in the mirror like other people. And obviously, of course, we don't know her, but from what the internet says, she's kind of difficult.
Hmm. Something that she pointed out in this interview that I point pinpointed out was like she's focusing on the wrong thing here. She said, they do everything they can to make me happy. They give me the cars, the rings, the this, and I'm like, all of this thing that you're mentioning, they're all materialistic. Like that's not how someone proves that they love you. But to you, you say that that's not what you want, or that's not the way that you want to be loved. But it seems like that's also important to you. Does that make sense? Like she didn't say like anything tangible. She didn't say like they support me or they make me feel seen, they support my dreams, they hold me when I'm down. Like none of the things that she said was meaningful that you would think a marriage is supposed to be or a relationship is supposed to be. All she mentioned was they gave me the rings, the cars, the this, and it's like all of those things are materialistic. But what did you actually what were they actually able to give you that was like emotional more than that?
I think the reality is that marriage is really boring. I don't know if you agree.
I agree.
I think that when you get to know somebody, it gets boring. And that doesn't have to be a bad thing. Like there's the
Marriage
thrill.
is mundane.
Yeah, yeah, it's like when you get a job, the job you wanted, and at first it's exciting, but then it becomes routine because there's nothing that really surprises you. All the ins and outs. So you're not as stimulated as you once were. The job still stayed the same. It didn't change. It's doing everything it's supposed to do.
Right.
You just got bored. And I think that's the position that she's in. Like she meets a guy. It starts off exciting. The media is all over her. Like J Lo has a new man, and then the media moves on to the next new thing. And then the only thing that's left is to have a divorce after 2 years,
Right.
like, to get back into the news, like, I was with this person for 2 years, nobody really cares anymore, now I'm gonna divorce them, and then the spotlight is on me to now find another man that is not gonna stay.
I think she's addicted to love. And I say this because I think she's addicted to the dopamine and the high of falling in love. Like the first stages of like the butterflies and the romance, and I think she loves that part of love. That's what she chases. But I don't think she can actually do, like, once that part, like you were talking about, once that part wears off, I think she doesn't know what to do.
Yeah,
I think that's her problem. Want like let's take her relationship with Ben Affleck, right? I think genuinely Ben does care about, like genuinely Ben did love her. I really do think that. I think that she liked the attention of like 20 years later coming back and all of the things that you talked about, right? She loves that part. And then when it was like, okay, everything died down, then she made this love story that was never told, that no one asked for, in a whole documentary. And you can tell, and Ben was like, do we have to do this? Like, I just want to be married to, like, I don't need any of this. Like, I just want to. And she just constantly wants to be put out there. And I think he was just like, I genuinely think that he broke it off. And he was just like, I cannot do this with you. Like, I'm done.
yeah,
I just want to be private. I just want a relationship with you. I just want to keep it quiet, and you cannot stop. Like, she shared everything, the letters that he sent her, like everything. And at some point, like, I would never, me, I'm like, I would defend the woman till the end. But I'm like, in this case, I really do think that she might be the problem, and she needs to really look inward of like, why am I just constantly chasing the high of this thing, but I can never make it work? I think her longest relationship was with Mark Anthony. I don't know how long they were married for, but they were married for quite a while.
they have
And I
kids
think
together,
that
right?
might, yeah, they have two kids together. Yeah. So I think that might be like her only like real long-term successful relationship. Everything else has been like, with A-Rod, with Ben the first time and the second time, with like all these people that she's been with. It was just once the high wore off, she was done.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. Yeah. I think she needs to do some real work and really figure it out. Cause I'm like, all these people, like all these men cannot be the problem. At what point do we kind of look inward and be like, where am I going wrong? And this is for any relationship, right? We're not just picking on J-Lo, but it's like, if you keep picking the same type of men, or if you keep different men but same result, it's like, at what point do you kind of look at yourself and be like, okay, wait a minute. I'm picking the same type of men. I'm having the same end result. At what point do I have accountability to be like, all right, I need to look inward of, am I the issue? Am I the problem? Am I the one? Is there something within me that's gravitating towards this or gravitating towards these type of people? And then getting the same end result versus like, they're all dead to me. They were never able to love me. They're incapable of love and it's all their fault.
Right.
You know?
Like, I think she's still a gorgeous woman, but I wouldn't be surprised if she's difficult.
Well, I think we know she's difficult. But that's the thing, is like, you could be gorgeous and still be terrible in relationships.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what men don't understand. Because everyone's like, oh my God, I would love to be with J-Lo. And it's like, do you really? That sounds like a headache.
Yeah. Because she could be beautiful and very annoying.
I guess. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
you
then
never
again,
know.
I don't know what men are looking for these days anymore. So
I think we're all
I've
looking for the
already,
same thing, if I had to be honest.
which is,
You know, somebody without the BS, not being a placeholder or a gap filler, but somebody who's there for long term. I think that counts a lot.
if I didn't know better, I'd say you were describing what women wanted. Because I'm like, men always have gap and placeholders.
maybe
Like,
I'm growing up a little bit and seeing
I'm
things
like,
from your
look at
side.
you.
I've seen
All
things from the
right,
other side. Yeah.
if you say so. But I'm like, these men out here, look, that's all I'll say. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about Bad Bunny. Can I say I am so excited to see Bad Bunny as the halftime show? He was a special guest of Shakira when she did the halftime show with J Lo. I believe it was it 2020 they did it? or 2021. I can't remember what year it was. But that's why I'm like, this man has literally been on a halftime stage. Why are y'all tripping?
Mhm.
And the fact that half of the people on the right did not know that Puerto Rico was part of America
Right.
and did not know that he was actually American
He's American.
blows my mind. The fact that they did not know that he is American blows my mind. What are your thoughts? I am so excited. I got introduced to him through, one of my best friends, and I love me some Bad Bunny, and I'm also a WWE fan, as maybe people don't know, but he was also a WWE, so he was they like did this whole thing to like try to bring in more Spanish speakers, and he's actually a decent wrestler.
Wow.
Yeah. So I've definitely known. I haven't been to his concerts, but I would love to go to one of his concerts one day. I heard they're like wonderful. But he did a whole like he did his concert in Puerto Rico because obviously a lot of his fans are Hispanic and from Latin, a lot of Latin American fans, and he was, because of this whole like thing happening with ICE and everything, he was like, nope, I want to be where they can be safe. And he did his whole concert tour in Puerto Rico, which I thought was amazing. But what do you think about, the choice, especially with our current situation? Do you think that Bad Bunny was a bold choice? What do you think? What do you think of the whole controversy and everything?
I think they're definitely trying to make a point of saying, "Hey, this is a show of resistance on their part by having Bad Bunny to perform."
Yeah,
A way of speaking out against the ICE raids, and I would assume that Bad Bunny's probably gonna say something on that. I mean,
hmm
just his presence alone speaks volumes, but apparently he's gonna do the whole show in Spanish,
that'd be
and
what they're saying.
well, that's what the controversy's over, because I think they would have been okay if he was gonna do it in English, but
I would love him to do the whole thing in Spanish, just to stick it to them.
yeah, he's apparently he's gonna do the whole thing in Spanish, and I don't know if you heard, but TPUSA in
Yeah,
response said they're gonna
they're
do their own
having their own.
halftime show.
Yeah.
Like for a organization that says it wants to unite America, you're bringing a lot of division. The fact of the matter is that Puerto Rico is now a U.S. territory. They are American. They're under no obligation to just then forget their culture and history to adopt yours. They don't have to assimilate. But I felt like that's what they thought. Like their culture would now submit to the American culture. No, that's not true. They get to hold on to whatever makes them Puerto Rican. That to me is very American, that you get to have the freedom to be who you wanna be.
Absolutely, I agree. I love the fact that he's doing the halftime show. I think it's going to be an amazing show. He's an amazing like entertainer. I've seen clips from his concerts. He's really really good. He's been on the halftime show before. So I know people just want to say things to say things, but the guy is an American. It's not like, oh, they're putting a non-American in an American football and blah 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 blah, and it's like, did you go to class? Did you take a history lesson? Like, did you take a civics lesson? Did you take a civics class? Like, I mean, I know our reading and, our education is not that great, but you should know this. I think it's going to be great. I don't see what the big deal is. I heard there's going to be ICE agents at the Super Bowl. I'm like, Bad Bunny fans are not going to the Super Bowl. That's not happening. Okay, his fans are regular schmegular fans that cannot afford. They're regular people that cannot afford Super Bowl tickets.
Right.
So you can have ICE out there, but there's no one that's going to be there that's a Bad Bunny fan, because that's not his target audience. So you're just going to be wasting taxpayer money to be out there. But okay, I'm just like, those are not the demographics that are going to the Super Bowl anyway. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what the big deal is, but I think it's great. I think it's wonderful, and I cannot wait. Okay, let's talk about Mama D and Scrappy.
Okay.
Okay, so they were doing an interview, and Scrappy said that his mom brought a stripper to his 14th birthday to supposedly make him a man. And this got a lot of controversy on the internet, where people are like, this is not okay. And this isn't the first time like I've heard something like this, where it's like people also brought up a great point of like if this was done to a girl, because this was what he was, a boy, he was a 14-year-old boy, we would like we it would get more of an uproar than it is right now. And because it was a boy, so it's like, oh, you got to prove your manhood, all of a sudden you're a man, this is a rite of passage, you have to be with a woman so to prove that you're not gay, blah 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 blah, like all of these things. But it's like, when are we going to start protecting our boys? When are we going to start protecting our boys so they don't grow up to be traumatic adults?
Yeah.
Because you can clearly see that Scrappy is still a boy. If you watch Love and Hip Hop, you know what I'm talking about. This man has not grown up and dealt with a lot of the trauma that his mother has brought onto him. And my thing is, we focus so much on our girls and raising them and having them grow up to be independent and this and that's wonderful. But as a mother of a son, I treat him like, I want you to grow up with not covered head to toe in issues as a grown ass adult man, because then somebody has to deal with your trauma that was placed on you because your parents clearly did not raise you right, or whatever environment you were in did not raise you right. So my thing is, when are we going to stop with, like, when are we going to stop this whole thing of putting men's or little boys' sexuality and not treating it as important as those of girls and women, because they are important as well. There's no reason why a 14-year-old boy should have a stripper at his birthday party. There's no reason why. And I've heard stories of men that are like, oh yeah, my nanny, was my first experience, or the older woman was my first experience when I was, 10 years old or 15 or 8 years old or whatever. And I'm like, do you hear what you're saying? If the roles were reversed, that is a problem. But apparently in man world, that's not an issue. So can you help me understand this, please? Because I clearly do not understand it.
Well, I wish I could help you understand it. Luckily, I had never had any kind of experience like that with Little Scrappy. It reminds me of Little Wayne. I don't know if you heard about his story.
I did not hear about his story. He got a story too.
Yeah, so same thing. His nanny did something to him when he was like 10. I think he said that he had lost his virginity to her. But I feel like when this happens to men, they don't realize how much it breaks them too, because it starts them on this path that manhood is how many women you can be with in a lifetime.
Right.
And it's not putting them in a position where they should protect women or start a family with them, but just have something on sort of a sexual level is the manhood, rather than say manhood is again like protecting those you love, caring for them, providing for them.
Why is it that men's or boys and men's sexuality is not seen as something to be protected in society as women and young girls are? Like, is it because again, when you start that early, you have a weird, it forms the way you deal with women as an adult. And it forms the way you see relationships as an adult. And I know, like, this is something that we've just started talking about. So we are definitely in a new era now where we are talking about things like this. But I'm just sort of curious as to like why it's not seen as such a big deal,
Well,
because it is a big deal.
I think because with women, when they have, say, relations, it shows like they get pregnant and they have to
Mhm.
actually deal with that responsibility of carrying a child. Like they have 9 months of where this is the reality. Men don't ever really have to deal with that.
I think what people forget is a girl or a woman does not get pregnant on her own. I don't know why people seem to forget that. Women do not get pregnant on their own. At the end of that is a hurt little boy trying to be a man. So, yes, I understand, like, there are, there are things that are visible for women that we can see. Nick Cannon is an example. The reason I bring him up is he didn't deal with his trauma, and he got 6 women pregnant, all because he couldn't deal with his situation. So that's why I'm like, we're going around like, if we take care of our men, if we take care of our boys at a young age and they grow up to be respectable men, we do not have all of these broken marriages and broken relationships that we have now. Scrappy's been divorced twice. He has, you know, children by different women, and he is, again, a boy trapped in a man's body. And there are so many boys trapped in men's bodies that are out here in these streets causing chaos. And I blame the mother because, I mean, that's clearly how she knew. I think she was a pimp or something back in her day.
She was a
So this
madam.
is clearly how she tried, a madam. I don't know what they're called, but this is clearly how she tries to prove her son's manhood, or tries to and the other thing about it is, it's done because they're trying to prove, oh well, he's not gay. That's the biggest piece to me is, well, I want to make sure that he ain't gay, like he gotta like girls, and he, I gotta make sure that his first time, like, let them figure it out. Being gay and everything is still taboo in our community and things like that, but if the boy likes women, he's going to like women at 14, 18, or 17. He's going to like women. And if he's gay, he's not going to like women then, and he's definitely not going to like women now. So why can't we just let them figure it out?
I have a few thoughts. I don't condone at all what she did. I think it was obviously wrong to introduce her son to strippers at such an age. I think that I think that no mother should ever do that, of course.
That's awful.
However, it's like when you think about if it was an issue of she didn't want him to be gay, she probably just knew the world that they lived in, that if I'm living in a certain environment where homosexuality is definitely not safe for you to be, you can't have a hint of that. I could see how like she's trying to make sure that she did not want anything bad to happen to him. She's probably because like if she's a former madam and she said herself a former drug dealer as well, I would assume she's seen some stuff. And she's like, yo, I can't let this happen to my son at all. I need him to have a reputation of being this kind of man in the environment that we live in. I'm saying that there's probably a different way she could have handled that. There was probably a million other ways, safer ways, more just a thousand better ways she could have done that. But given that you brought up the whole homosexual angle, I can understand if she felt that, that might have been unsafe for him in the world that they live in. Because I watched other videos about her and I can see how she's had trauma too.
Like, the way she raised him was definitely because of all her trauma and the things that she's been through. You pass that on no matter what. Like, you have to consciously make that effort of not passing your trauma on to your children. And some people just don't know how to do that.
And the thing is, like, I'm not at all excusing her behavior. It's like, just because you had a bad childhood, I'm not going to let you get a pass on robbing a bank. Like, you're still going to go to jail. Like, you still get judged for the things you do as an adult. But I can understand how that past or that trauma shaped you today.
Yeah, I get it. I get how your past can definitely affect the adult that you become. Believe me, I get it. A lot of us have definitely gone through crazy childhoods and things in our childhoods that we are still carrying with us as adults. But I think you make that choice as an adult to not pass that around to other people. But I also understand that there are people who do not know how to do that. Like, speaking for myself, and I know that I'm like, everybody is not like me. I grew up with some shit in my past too, but I made the conscious effort not to pass that on to my kid in any way. Did I succeed? I like to think so. I like to think I didn't pass all of that baggage on to him, but at least I knew that I made a conscious effort to not pass that on, because that wasn't his fault and I needed to figure my own shit out. And I think a lot of parents do not do that with their kids, because they just, all right, well, this is what we know, so let's just pass it on. And it's like, that's why they say you got to break that generational curse of, at what point do you say, this has to stop with me, and I'm not going to let this affect the next generation. At what point do you make that break? Otherwise, we just gonna keep having hurt people out here. So I don't know. I know everyone's different. I know everyone's not, don't have the same willpower or same whatever, but it's like, yes, I've heard some really horrific things happen to people, but I've also heard some really horrific things happen to people and they don't become monsters. So
I'll say this because again, that was traumatic just to hear it. And little Scrappy like admitted that this was traumatic for him,
mhm.
years later.
And then, sorry, not to cut you off, but did you hear his mother say that he doesn't know what the meaning of trauma is, and he wasn't traumatic. He just doesn't know what the meaning of it is. And it's like you're telling this man that was traumatic who says that was traumatic for him, but you're telling him that what he's feeling is wrong.
Well, again, that just tells me that she definitely needs to have some healing herself because she's doing that from her experience. And that lets
Yeah.
me know that you've definitely seen some stuff. But here's another angle to this. So she said herself that when she brought the strippers over, she sent the little girls home from the party and then asked the parents or whoever was there, like, if you have a son here and you don't want him to see this, you should leave. So that lets me know that you knew something was wrong with this. It would be different if you just brought the strippers over. That would mean that you've been so much into this life that you don't know this is wrong. But to ask people to leave means you knew something was wrong with this. So you can't say it's not traumatic.
Yeah. Well, I've always been a strong believer that some people shouldn't be parents, but
Yeah, I think that sums it up. Some people should not be parents because if you have to if you're planning on telling people, giving them the heads up that they should probably leave, it means somewhere in your heart, this is wrong. I probably shouldn't do it, but I'm gonna do it anyway.
yeah. That should be like a test or something that you go through before you take your kid home. Or I don't know, something. Like, not everybody's meant to be a parent. And there is certainly a lot of people out here who have no business raising kids. But here we are. Anywho. All right. I think that's the end of today's episode. Do you have anything to add before we go?
No, no, nothing.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us today. We really appreciate it. Make sure you check us out on Instagram and Facebook. We are on TikTok as well. So make sure you
Okay.
check us out at the Foreign Lady Pod. You can see some clips. Also on YouTube, that's where you can see the full video of the podcast, and also you can listen audio wherever you get your podcast. Thanks everyone, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Foreign Lady.
If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to rate, like, and subscribe wherever you listen to the podcast.
Follow us on social media at The Foreign Lady Podcast on Facebook and Instagram.
Email us at theforeignladypodcast@gmail.com. See you next time.